Hi, this is John Solari, the method actor who speaks. And today I have a fellow Italian from northern New Jersey, originally, and New York. And I want you to pronounce your name so I don't get it wrong.
My name is Mzsavvybrown.
Now, that's an interesting name. I know it's not you.
It's not my real name. I think it's what they call a stage name, or in my case, a sobriquet, which is like a street name.
Yeah, well, yeah. A nickname.
And my real name is very, very long and involved. Now, my married name is Brown, and Savvy is just a nickname. My real name is Suzanne Elizabeth Savannah.
Savannah.
Yeah, and Savvy is short for Savannah, or Elizabeth. Sometimes people say Savvy, short for Savvy, but with a B. But yeah, as I said, it's just a nickname. I answer to anything. It's not, well, not anything, but within reason. Or, you know, you might not like the answer I give you. So,
well,
you know.
you're Italian and French, right? So
yeah, it's mostly Italian.
mostly
yeah.
Italian. And you come, as soon as I met you, I said, oh, yeah. You got that Italian look from Arthur Avenue and all that. Now, what got you in this business? Why did you want to become in show business?
Wow. As long as I can remember, this is all I've ever wanted to be.
Really?
And one of my earliest memories is watching The Wizard of Oz on my Nonna Louise's RCA color set on Savoy Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I used to watch it with my Zia Nettie, my Auntie Nettie Mangillo. And I have this really, really strong memory, very vivid memory of being about that age, you know, 3 or 4, watching The Wizard of Oz, and just not so much the feeling of I want to do what they're doing.
Right.
But I liked the way all of the characters were making me feel, and I wanted to grow up to be one of those people that makes people feel those same feelings, whether it was Judy Garland making you cry, singing Over the Rainbow, or Bert Lahr making you laugh as the Cowardly Lion, or Margaret Hamilton scaring the crap out of you as the Wicked Witch of the West. It was like, it just was not lost on me. And I was already singing by that age. My dad said I could sing before I could talk. So it just became the forefront of my mind, that's what I'm going to be.
Right.
And I took dancing lessons, voice lessons, acting lessons, all through school. In the 7th grade, I got the part of Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Did the whole thing, had the costume, did the supper time. Oh yes, it's supper time. Just so fell in love with the feeling I got being on stage doing that role in the 7th grade. I was 12 years old. It just, that was it for me. There wasn't going to be anything else. And I got a little bit waylaid because when I was 18, just out of high school, I got pregnant with my daughter. I got married. And it's very hard to pursue a career in the arts when you're a mother, especially a young mother.
And this was all back east.
Actually, by the time I had Corey, that's my oldest daughter, Carissa, I had followed her dad out, my ex-husband, to Arizona. So at that point, I was living in Arizona. I was already working as a nursery school teacher. And I did that for the next 10 years. I had 2 kids followed. I actually divorced him, got married again, 2 kids followed. I had 3 kids by the time I was 25 years old. Wow. By the time I was 28 years old, I'd had enough of nursery school teaching. My kids were already going to school. And I thought, this is it. This is my chance. I'd been doing a little bit of modeling and sort of local work. This is my chance to get back into acting. Because the wonderful thing about acting is you can do it at any age. You know, we have child actors, we have people who are, you know, Betty White, they're 93 and they're acting, you know, so it's something they always need the parts of parents and grandparents and children and teens, so there's, you know, there's a part for everybody. When I was 28, I decided I was living in Tucson, Arizona, and I was doing a little bit of regional theater in Tucson and working at Old Tucson Studios doing the live, they call the live saloon shows. And I also started working in radio. And did that for a few years. And while I was working in radio, I met this fabulous comedian who I dated, and his name is Craig Gass. He's on my Facebook page. And Craig he does work on all kinds of television, radio. When you hear somebody doing Al Pacino on Howard Stern's show, it's not really Al Pacino. I would say most of the time it's probably not Al, it's probably Craig Gass. He is just an amazing impressionist, and he's a very, very funny comedian. And I dated him way back in 1994, and I was 28, 29 years old. He was he was younger than me by about 5 years, and I just loved the crap out of him, but to me he was immature. He really wasn't. When I look back, I was like, boy, he was actually very mature for his age. But, you know, at that time, I'm divorced, I have 3 kids, you know, he was immature to me at that time. When we were dating, we went out one night, and he was already touring the country, doing stand-up and all this radio work and all this stuff. He's an exorbitantly talented man. And one night we went on a date, and he said to me, you know, so, you know, what do you want to do? You know, do you want to keep doing what you're doing, or what do you want to do? I said, no, you know, I really want to be an actor, and you know, I'm doing as much as I can here in Tucson. He says, well, you know, eventually you are going to hit a wall here because there's only so much you can do in Tucson, Arizona. So you're going to have to make a conscious decision to either go back to the New York area, go back to the tri-state, or you're going to have to go out to Los Angeles. And because I had already acclimated to the beautiful weather in Arizona, I decided, I don't know why, to move to LA. And within 2 years I was living in LA. 5 years ago, I saw Craig again, and I reminded him that he was the person who had told me to move to LA. He doesn't remember that, but he was, you know, thankful that I accredited it to him. So I moved out here in 1996, and I hit the ground running. And I started studying I studied a lot of places starting out. Took classes with Avery Schreiber, who was my mentor.
It's across the street.
Yep, right down there on Ranchito. I shouldn't say his, but he's passed away. God rest his soul.
But I mean, the theater was over here. Now it's on the block.
We actually did the improv class at his house, and then the group followed. And so I was acting for about 5 years. I have never found a teacher as good as Avery to this day. When he passed away very unexpectedly to us in 2002, in 2003, for a lot of reasons, but that sort of being the number one reason, I decided to get out of acting, took a sabbatical, and worked behind the scenes as a production secretary for 5 years. A lot of reasons behind that. I really missed Avery. I didn't think I was going to find another teacher who understood me quite as well as he did, who was quite as adept at teaching me how to be a better actor as he was.
Can I ask you, what do you mean by better understanding you? Can you talk about that, or is that personal?
No, it's not that personal. I think that, especially when I moved out here and I was already, you know, close to 30, and I think I had a particular look that maybe didn't match who I really am as a person. Because I think that people, particularly an audience who's gathering you up, sizing you up in a matter of seconds, I think people attach a certain persona to especially with women.
Yes.
With, you know, pursuant to the way they look. And I was curvy and, you know, long hair and young and vivacious, and I think people attach sort of a personality to that once I opened my mouth, I didn't match at all. And for a while, I really tried to change myself to sort of match this LA thing that we have going on. I bleached the hair, I, you know, lost weight, I, you know, tried to affectate different accents so the northern New Jersey Italian wasn't so prevalent and prominent. And that's never a good thing to do. No. You know, you just have to be who you are. If they hire you to do a job. And then you get into your character from there and change things up as you need to. What I loved about Avery was when I auditioned for his class, he saw through all that, and he really just accepted me for who I was. And he said to me, you know, first of all, don't put yourself down. Other people are more willing to do it, and they'll do it better. So always pat yourself on the back. And just be who you are, because it doesn't matter who else is out there in Hollywood, in New York, wherever you're acting. There's only one you.
Right.
And nobody does you better than you. So just be yourself, relax. And it really took me a while to process that, because I had spent long hours painstakingly chipping away at this to make it different, to make myself what I thought casting directors wanted, what I thought audience members wanted to see in me. And Avery really was able to break through with me. And then also just in teaching me, I'm not the quickest study, whether it's improvisation or actor's technique. You know, I don't know, I'm a smart woman, but I'm not always quick on the uptake with learning things, processing things, and then, you know, exhibiting those things or
Too
putting
many
those
spoons to the head
yeah.
when you were a kid.
Yeah, I don't with the wooden spoon, the shoe, whatever it was. You know, just getting yelled at, whatever makes you nervous, and you get nervous. I get very nervous, and you start to you freeze. You know, so it's hard to execute. You process that stuff, and you go, okay, I've got it. And sometimes it's hard to break that wall of nerves to execute what you've learned. But Avery was really, really good about working with me to be able to relax and to just commit to the character and to sort of, you know, layer that coat of the character.
When you say commit to the character, it's interesting. A lot of what you're saying is really right on. I mean, Avery knew what he was talking about. But, you know, I always tell actors, if you believe it, I'll believe it. What would you do if you were this character?
Right.
Because as casting directors already know the character, they don't know Savvy.
Right.
And that's who they want to see.
Right.
They want to see Savvy as the character.
Savvy.
Savvy. That's right here.
I like Savvy too, though. We're saved that's always a good thing, right?
Good. I'm always screwing up with names. I don't know, it's an Italian thing with me.
Right, and your name is John, so, you know, how do you screw that one up?
I tell you, we always pay. You know, it's one way or the other. But I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, that's so funny you say it's an Italian thing. My Nonna Louise, when I was a child, you know, she helped my mom to raise as my mother's mother. Very, very Italian woman, little bitty thing. She was so beautiful. But John Travolta was a really big thing because this was like the late 70s and, you know, Welcome Back Kotter, Urban Cowboy, this stuff. And he grew up in Inglewood, New Jersey. And I actually took dancing classes from his mother, Ellen, a couple of times. I went to the school where she taught, and she actually filled in as the teacher. He was already famous by then. But he was a big deal because he's Italian-American, he's on TV, he's a good-looking guy. And my Nana always used to call him John Travolio. She would always get his name right. She'd, oh, there's that. I love him, that John Travolio. It's like, Nana, his name is not John Travolta. It's John Travolta. But she would get names wrong. It was hilarious.
For the audience out there, Nana is grandmother.
Nonna is actually, but we called her Nana. Somehow Nonna morphed into Nana.
You're gonna when you all go do Nonna, go to sleep, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. But it's true. I have a friend. It's funny because before you came, I was thinking about it. And when you talk about teachers, to me, the best teacher out here is Salome Jens, and a lot of things that Avery was talking to you about.
I remember Salome on Mary Hartman years ago. She was fabulous. Yeah.
Well, she's the co-artistic director of Actors Studio.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she's teaches over now. It's on, I think it's Les Cienega.
Yeah.
But you could always Facebook her or look her up. And there's nobody better as a teacher out here.
Yeah.
In New York, I always recommend Elizabeth Kemp, who both, from Actors Studio. As
Susan Batson is very good too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, out here, there's quite a few, but you got to be careful. Everybody and their mother-in-law is a
teacher.
actor.
Yeah. No, that's what I found. Now, I just finished about a year with Anthony Mindel Actors Workshop. Love Tony. He's incredible. Taken a lot of classes over the years, but that's interesting that you say that, because that's one thing I have discovered in LA primarily is everybody's got to hustle. And you'll meet more people that say, oh, take my commercial workshop, take my casting director workshop, and they're not always good teachers. No. And just because someone's a good actor doesn't make them a good teacher, because I took acting classes, and I'm not even going to say her name, and this woman is a fabulous actress. But as a teacher, oh, Maron, I mean, no. Disoriented, unorganized, not a good teacher for me.
For you.
And as I said, nobody's matched Avery in that sense, but I'm not done looking. And I may have to give Salome a call.
Really?
And I do remember her from Mary Hartman. I used to watch that when I was a little girl. I love that show. Louise Lasser.
Mary Hartman.
Yeah, Dabney Coleman was on that show.
A lot of
big people.
Yeah, they came from New York. And that is funny that when you said your friend told you to come to California, I had a friend, Vic Argo. He passed away. He was very close with Harvey Keitel. But he used to tell me to come to LA, and I came out here. And I'm really sorry I did. I think New York would have been a better place for me. and I would have got more work. But he told me when they were back in New York, he says, the reason I sent you out there is because I knew we'd be up for the same parts.
Oh, there you go. So you're out here and he's here. You know, I think it's what you make it. I had a very hard time here in Los Angeles when I first got out here for a number of reasons. I was a single mother. I didn't have any money. I have 3 kids that I'm trying to raise. I got into a horrible relationship with an attorney who I lived with for 4 years, who put me in the hospital, you know, abused me and my children. It was a horrible relationship to get into. And you would think, you know, I had people tell me, well, just leave, we'll just leave, we'll just leave. Well, it's a very hard thing to do when you have 3 children. Yeah. You're making $15 an hour. You don't know anybody out here save for a couple of people who you're not that close to. Yeah. I finally got away from him and was able to rebuild my life and rebuild my relationship with my children. Thank God, I love them so much and they love me. And recover from that whole situation. But it is really hard to come out to Los Angeles, particularly if you don't know anybody out here and you don't have family out here. Had I gone to New York with the kids and started again or restarted in the New York area, I would have had the support of my family and my close friends that I've known since I was very young. It's hard to do that, but I think that when you are able to prevail from bad situations here in Los Angeles or any city, I think it makes you stronger. I think it makes you more committed to what you're doing and to your art. And then, of course, you use that as a catalyst and inspiration when you are doing parts that, you know, call for a person to have strived, a person to have struggled. You know, you use that. And I'm not big on method acting, despite the title of your show. But, you know, there is something to be said for that the sense memory thing. And what have you experienced before that you can equate to this? And, you know, and there's times I use it, even in my comedy, because I'm first and foremost a comedian. And the reason that I got into comedy, I fell in love with it as a child, obviously, to make people laugh. I was very, very bullied as a kid, and that was a way to get the kids not to bully me, was to make them laugh, or at least to make my friends laugh, so at least they would, you know, protect me when I was getting pummeled upon them. The only 13-year-old in history that got beat up by a gang of Jews. True story. And a Puerto Rican girl saved my life, Janet Vasquez. I love that little Boricua for saving my ass. Wow. But, you know, one of the reasons I got into comedy was because if I start crying about any of the things I've been through, I'll never stop. So I might as well just look for that silver lining and just laugh about what I can laugh about. And then just, you know, it sets forth a positive attitude, you know, all the way around. It helps me progress.
All that pain that you get it out in your comedy is also a gift as an actor, because you get to use it.
Absolutely.
When you need it.
It is a gift, and it's lovely.
It really is.
It really is.
People don't actors, that is a gift for actors, because you get to use that, and it's what makes great actors. You know, if they come from the streets, they understand that.
Yeah.
And they can relate to that. That's why they want you to be you.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
But you like to sing too, now.
I do.
Jazz. Is that what you sing?
I actually, you know what? I was raised singing my parents have very different musical tastes. And by the way, my mother's first cousin is Adriana Castellotti, who did the voice of Snow White in the original Walt Disney Snow White. The year I moved out here, she had passed away the year before. She used to live over on 3rd, a little house with wishing well in front. Lovely, lovely woman. And the Castellottis are first cousins to my mom's family on her dad's side. And my mom loved show tunes, Sinatra, Dean Martin, all that stuff. And oddly enough, folk music. Mixed all that with folk music. My mother was a huge Peter, Paul, and Mary fan, Joan Baez, all those people in the 70s that she just loved. And so I grew up listening to that. My dad is more definitely show tunes and jazz. And my grandparents all liked jazz. So it was kind of what I got into musically, because I took voice lessons. So you're going to work on the vocai, you're going to work on show tunes, you're going to work on whatever your voice teacher says you're going to work on. You know, I mean, that's how that goes, you know. And then when I was a teenager, I discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan because I was all about being different. And he was very, very different for the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, doing this whole blues thing that was very unique at that time when most kids were listening to, and I was too, you know, new wave and punk and, you know, pop, of course, pop music and R&B and all that stuff. And I love all that stuff. But when I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was like, wow, this is just incredibly different. And so I kind of started getting into blues a little bit and then jazz through that as well. So yeah, more of a jazz singer than anything.
Because the reason I mention that is the second Tuesday of every month here in North Hollywood, NoHo Farmers Market. It's on a Saturday. There's a Jody Jarris and a group of other jazz singers. They meet as I said, the second Tuesday of every month. And they jam out there. It's all free.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I saw jazz on your thing, I said,
yeah,
you should hook you up with her on Facebook. But they're there every month.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
They sing jazz, which is really good. And a couple weeks ago, I had Earth, Wind, and Fire, Larry Dunn on here.
Oh, who doesn't love them?
Yeah.
Always a fun show. I've seen them in concert. Always a fun show.
They're having one.
They're fantastic.
This Saturday out here in the Burbank Starlight Theater.
Oh, no kidding. And my husband's a huge fan too. We'll have to turn out because we saw them at the Bowl.
It's $15.
Who doesn't love them?
It's
amazing.
$15. Yeah, and try to get in see, mention my name if you go there.
I will.
I'm serious. Go
and they'll throw me out in 10 seconds.
Oh,
so.
always.
Of course.
Let me ask, before we go any further, do you call it sauce or gravy?
I call it sauce, and my family always called it sauce. And this is what I heard growing up when there was, you know, question about that. My family believes that gravy has meat in it. So like the Sunday gravy has all the, you know, the sausage, and the, you know.
The meatballs, the sausage, and everything.
Yeah. And the ribs and the, you know, the meatballs is the gravy, is a Sunday gravy, it's got all the meat in it. But sauce is just, you know, sauce, a marinade, you know, it's not necessarily, might be, you know, a primavera, it might be just a nice marinade, just fresco, you know, something like that. But that's what I've heard is the difference. And funny story, because I do a lot of cooking and gardening, which is the wonderful thing about LA, is you can have a garden pretty much year round. When I was little, my Nonna Louise lived with us a lot. She lived in Italy and she lived with us, and Pianura is where she lived when she went to Italy. But she was a Jersey girl. She was raised in Jersey, even though she was from Italy. She was raised in Jersey. She used to make, and all Italians know this food, but if people who aren't Italian don't know it, and as a little kid, I watched her doing it. I was used to eating it, but I didn't really know what it was made of. So I saw her making it one day, and it was, you know, squash blossoms. We call them judíos,
Yeah.
which means like little flower. And they're the blossom of the squash, the zucchini or the, you know, the guguts, the squash. You take them and you batter them, and then you fry them, and now my Nonna would stuff them with ricotta cheese and then top them with the marinade and some more cheese and, you know, a lot of cheese and, you know, a lot of cheese, a lot of assaggio, a lot of formaggio, my mom would say, formaggio. Whenever we post for pictures, say formaggio. Everybody else saying cheese. I'm saying formaggio, which explains why everybody in our family in a picture is like this. There's a reason you say cheese, people. Anyway, so my grandmother's making the jus d'oeils, and I'm watching her because she taught me to cook. My aunts all taught me to cook. And I looked at my mother and I says, "Ma, are we poor?" And my mother says, "Are we poor? What do you mean?" I said, "Are we poor? We poor people?" She said, "No, we're not poor. We're not rich. We're not poor. We're in the middle. Why?" I said, "So why are we eating flowers?" But she used to eat the dandelion leaves. Oh
yes.
my God, Mother, and all the stuff she used to eat that. You know, and I used to get told, it's a delicacy, which is a nice way of telling a kid, it's all we've got, and you're eating it. Be thankful. Shut up.
Yeah.
That and going into what my cousin and I still call the Stinky Feet store, which is the Italian deli, you know, Balducci's in New York is a nice one. Do you remember Balducci's?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. That's a nice one. And it's big, so you don't really smell all the smells. But we used to go to the really small ones, you know, and you go in and oh my God, it smells like, you know, I wrote a monologue once about it, that it smells like pit, crotch, stinky feet all combined into one. Disgusting. And I used to cry and I'd be like, I'll just sit here, I'll wait. And my grandmother's going, shut up, staras eat. You're not waiting here. There's weirdos. Get in the store, plug your nose, let's go. You know, when she goes in to buy the mozzarella and the mortadella and all the shit, you know, the gabagool, all the shit.
Gabagool, I love. It's so hard to find. It's amazing. Now, you know, you're saying everything right, too. I love the commercial where they call mozzarella.
Oh, mozzarella. Who calls it mozzarella?
I know, you watch the commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Olive Garden.
You know,
right.
Mozzarella. It's mozzarella. They call it mozzarella. It's not Jewish.
I know.
It's exactly. Mozzarella.
Exactly. Mozzarella.
Yeah.
Yeah, they short, my cousin Joey Corluso always says, we crunch words, Italians. We crunch words.
Yeah.
Like you shorten them.
It's
mozzarella, you know, the O gets caught, you know.
Mozzarella. Or like, you know, Galamat, you know, and this and that thing.
Yeah, and G and C, because like the word gavone, you know, when someone's a real loser, they're a gavone, you know, real greenhorn, my mom would say. But the word is actually caffone. It's Caffone, but the way Italians say it, they say gavone.
Gavone, yeah, he's a gavone, he eats everything, you know.
Eats everything. I love that.
I know, but it's a dying art, like the Sunday gravy. You know, when I had my family in Mountville, I used to make the gravy every Sunday. And I have a big family, my nieces and nephews. We'd have maybe 20, 25 people every Sunday.
Yeah.
Come and eat.
And that's just, you know, that's just the people you're related to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a dying art. I ask my nieces and nephews now, do you still do it? No, they don't.
I think people don't have time anymore.
I mean, you gotta make time. For
my mom didn't. My mom was a hairdresser when I was little, and then she worked in a bank. But we had my nonna and her sisters, my aunts, my great aunts, all helping us, and so they did a lot of the cooking. You know, I think people today don't have as much time. I cook on Sundays. This past Sunday, I made marinade fresco because I grew tomatoes and basil and all the stuff. But I don't. Even though I've got kids, I don't cook as much as, you know, a wife and would have done 40, 50 years ago.
You still do it on Sunday.
I do.
Usually the husband.
I do. I mean, my little aunts, and I love them all. Ida, Angie, and Marie Antoinette, Auntie Nettie. Those are my little aunts, and my Aunt Aunt Anelia. These women get up at 4 in the morning. They're out in the kitchen at 5 o'clock. They're making the gnocchi, they're making the sauce, they're making the, you know, the pasta. My brother-in-law got my aunt's pasta machine. I just have to do it like by hand, you know.
There's nothing like homemade pasta.
You know, and they're making a frittata for breakfast. By 10 o'clock, they're talking about what are we going to eat for dinner. Yeah. Like, can we talk about something else other than food? Jesus, no wonder you all have a weight problem. You know, in a good way, though.
It's a good way.
Babies are eating pastine and drinking wine. You know, they're 8 months old. Is your kid eating cereal? I don't know. Is pastine, I don't know.
Homemade wine, we used to mix it with cream soda when we were kids.
Now, see, that's interesting. We used to get what my family calls child wine, the wine for the children, which was a glass of Coca-Cola, because that's so good for you, with a shot of red wine in it.
Yeah,
whether it was Burgundy, Chianti, whatever. That's what we used to do. And that way the kids felt like they were getting something too. Yeah, we'd all be in jail now for getting, you know, for doing that shit to our kids. Dad and I have been drinking coffee since I was 7. And I'm still a huge coffee. And I drink the espresso. I don't fool around. I don't drink this, you know. Starbucks is good because it's strong, but I still go with the espresso. I don't do the, you know, latte or whatever this crapola is. I don't. Coffee soda is good too. You can't really get that out here, coffee soda.
That or cream soda. You know, I love cream soda. It's really good. And I used to drink it with the wine when I came. And I did it later on, but there's so many things you don't get out here.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely.
There's a place called Pinocchio's in Burbank.
I've heard of that, yes. Pinocchio's, I've heard of that, yeah.
They have a big deli, the Italian deli there.
Yeah, we have one actually out in where I live in the valley. It's the New Jersey of the West Coast, the San Fernando Valley. San Carlo Deli, and Pasquale is from Italy. He's lovely. And, you know, I can get a lot of that stuff, but you pay so much for it, my God.
Where is that?